Well, welcome back to the Old Buck Ranch. Today's video I'm going to be kind of describing the process of how I scan and edit film negatives. A few years ago when Mom passed, I inherited her entire collection of film images, and in all of those images there were hundreds of old film negatives, medium format film negatives, and I've just kind of been making it my mission to scan and preserve those, and today that's what I'm going to do, is just shoot a video to show you, how I do that. And most of the negatives have been preserved in these acid-free sleeves, which has done a pretty amazing job considering that these negatives are over 60 years old in most cases. Some of them are color, and over time the color starts to leach out from the negative, and so there's a little bit of an issue there, but mostly it's just dust and scratches and fingerprints, which I can fix a lot of that in the computer. And so I just thought I'd shoot a video today to show you how I do that, and just wanted you to come along with me and see how we do it. So here we go. Okay, I'm just trying to zoom in a little bit here, and this is one of the negatives. You can see that or not. Now the one thing about that's nice about this tray is that it comes with these little clips, and I'll show you here in a second how they work. But the key to getting good negative scans is to make sure the negative is as flat as possible. It's a little harder when it's just one negative, but you can make it work. So essentially, these little clips, you want to put them on the edge of the negative where the break between each frame is located. There's just a little bit left on each negative, and I'm just trying to get it as close to the edge as possible without actually going onto the image. So that's how you do that, and usually I'll just try to dust them off a little bit. Okay, the way this is designed, this negative carrier, it just basically fits up into the top right corner, and as long as it's flush up against there, it's set where it needs to be. So okay, just going to go ahead and shut the lid, and I'm ready to scan. Okay, hopefully this is going to show up on the video. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm using Epson Scan software. Basically that's what comes with the scanner. There's other scanner softwares out there, and I've used a couple of the other ones, but I keep coming back to this one because it just seems to be the simplest and most consistent. So now I'm just going to do a scan, or a preview scan I should say. It takes a second or two for it to warm up. Okay. So there's my image there, and it doesn't really look like much yet, but basically what I'm going to do now is just draw a little box over it with the cursor, and then let it go, and then now you see the image. So this is actually a pretty cool picture. This is a picture of my dad and my oldest brother Gary, I think in March of 1958, and Gary's sitting on the fender of an old 1957 Chevrolet station wagon that my daddy drove back in them days. So now I just want to hit zoom, and I'm going to blow it up so that I can see what I've got to work with, and then make some adjustments in the scanning software. So I'm just going to pull up my histogram adjustment and make a few adjustments here to the brightness and contrast. And I don't know if you can see it here or not, but there's a lot of dust spots, and there's just really nothing you can do about that on these old negatives. A few scratches here and there, but I can fix a lot of that in the computer, so not a big deal. I'm just really hoping that I get a really nice sharp clear image when it scans. Okay, we've got the image scanned, and I'm just going to go ahead and try to pull it up here in my software, in my file manager. Okay, well, that's turned out pretty nice. So that's the correct orientation here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Lightroom, because that's where I'm going to edit this image. Okay, so here I'm going to see, over the years of using Lightroom, I've built a bunch of presets. So what I'm going to do first is just kind of go through my presets and see if anything kind of, gets me where I want to be, at least close in terms of the saturation and, the contrast, the lightness, and all of that. So see, sometimes you're trying to get an all-around balance, because here you got a lot of nice colors in the car and the sky, but the faces, there's like a cast to them, kind of a yellowish cast. And that's the trick here, is just kind of trying to find something that kind of balances as close as you can all the different elements. Okay, so that's where we're going to start. Now I'm still going to make some other adjustments here. You start with the color grading. And this kind of works on the mid-tones, the shadows, and the highlights, and you can make some really nice, precise adjustments. Just do a little bit more individual color adjustments. Use this to take a little bit of that color cast out of the skin tones. That's better. But again, these negatives are over 60 years old, and there's just, it's amazing that they even still exist, much less, you can render them in a way that the image kind of comes out halfway nice. So there's a lot of scratches and dust spots that, I'll clean a lot of that up, but just want to kind of get us in the ballpark right now for the colors and all that. Well, I think that's about as good as I'm going to get it in Photoshop, or I should say in Lightroom, and now I'm going to bring it over into Photoshop and do a little bit more detail work and try to clean up some of these scratches, crop it and all of that. So Photoshop, and I'm just going to do a little bit of detail work here. I'm not going to sit here and film the whole thing. I'm just going to show you a few little quick things, and then I'm going to come back once I'm done and I'll show you the results. So first I'm going to crop this, and I'm going to leave it pretty much the same ratio that it started out as. Which is a perfect square. And over here there's a little bit of the negative that was cut off, and I'll be able to fix that. But I'm trying to make sure that I get all of his feet in the picture, because I don't want to cut that off. Okay, so you can kind of see over here on the bottom left corner, there's just some blank space where the negative was cut off. So essentially what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take the spot healing brush, and it's set to content aware feel, and then I can make the brush as big as I want or smaller, and I usually just kind of try to keep it as big as the area that I'm wanting to fix, and so you just paint that over and it just blends it in like it was never there. So, and just kind of go through and do the same thing with all these other little scratches, and this is really a neat tool because it's just literally a couple of clicks and you've got all these spots fixed. Again, there's no way to get, for an image that's this bad off, I could spend hours trying to fix every little spot, and that's not really what I'm looking for here. I'm just kind of wanting to get a nice image that would present well on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And so I'm just going to spend a few minutes here, and I'll come back in a second once I'm done. Okay, I'm just about done. I brought the image back into Lightroom just to do a couple more little quick tweaks. I'm going to try to do a little bit of noise reduction. You know, the trick with noise reduction is that if you go too far, you start to lose your detail, particularly in your faces. And I want to try to get rid of some of the noise in the red areas and up in the sky, but I don't want to get too crazy so that the faces blur out more than they are. Alright, well, I think that's pretty darn close. And again, I could sit here for hours just working on this one image, but I wanted to just kind of get it to a state where it presents well, and I'll show you the final image here in just a second. So I'm just going to save this. Well, that should do it. You know, probably went a little longer than I wanted it to, but still, all in all, I just hope you enjoyed the video and kind of get a little bit of an insight into how I scan and preserve negatives. And I'm also shooting film now, and the process is pretty much the same. So, anyway, just just wanted to capture a little bit of video to show the process, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time. So out here.